Oh, what the Giants going to do?
A week. We're like 4 days away.
4 days away. July 30th. July 30th. It's coming up. What is it, 25th? Oh, boy, it's coming up soon. So we'll get to that. And then Steph Curry, we kind of buried the lead on him.
Yeah, I would like to get into that.
You want to do that right now?
Yes.
We'll just do it right now. All right. So in an interview with Marc Spears of Andscape, is Steph Curry gets ready for the Olympics. And, boy, he sat down with Marc Spears. And Marc Spears asked him, you saw the type of lackluster teams that Kobe and Dirk had at the end of their careers while staying for one team. Should we not assume that you'll be fine playing with just anyone during the rest of your career, playing solely for the Warriors? And Curry said, basically, it's tough, right? I've always said I wanted to be a Warrior for life. At this stage in my career, I feel like that's possible. You can still be a competitive. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed the championship. It doesn't mean winning. Winning is always a priority, but obviously you're realistic. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen if you stay the course. You need to shake things up and keep reimagining what it looks like to evolve with what the league is at right now, with where some of these talented teams are right now. I'm taking it one step at a time, to be honest. I think that's the only way that I will protect my happiness. Also, it allows me to enjoy being myself when I'm out there playing. And I'll continue to make decisions that are best for me and for my career at the end of the day when it comes to just the imagination. I want to win. Let's put it this way. It's a long-winded way of saying that if it is a situation where you're a bottom feeder and it's just because you want to stay there, I'd have a hard time with that. But I don't think that's going to be the reality. Steph Curry with Marc Spears on Andscape. Again, that last line there. That last little line. Let's put it this way. It's a long-winded way of saying that if it is a situation where you're a bottom feeder and it's just because you want to stay there, I'd have a hard time with that. But I don't think that's going to be the reality. And so it already starts with Stephen Curry. And I thought this noise would begin around the All-Star break if the Warriors did struggle. But boy, what if Steph Curry says, you know what, enough is enough? These first 3 months of the basketball season for the Golden State Warriors are so damn crucial.
Hey, no pressure, Jonathan Kuminga. No pressure, Brandon Pajemski. Save us. So the way I read this, my interpretation was quite simple. This is the second vocal statement by Steph Curry, make a move or I'm going to make a move.
Within the last month.
Am I wrong?
He said things change quickly in the NBA.
Did you interpret it the same way I did?
Well, I interpreted it.
Directly talking to management.
Yes, that was my interpretation.
Through the media.
You better start winning some games.
I don't even know about
we cannot have another season where I don't make the playoffs.
Yes. Because
Bob Myers 2 years ago, Klay Thompson, or actually last season, Klay Thompson this season, you don't want to have this hovering over Stephen Curry because if the Warriors get off to a slow start, I've said this over and over. The All-Star game is in the Bay Area. They would come here, and they'll be excited about the three-point shootout and everything and being a Chase Center. But boy, oh boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. The media contingent that will come here internationally, nationally, all the Stephen A's, all the loud noise makers, all the media members, that will be the theme of the All-Star break. What do the Warriors do with Stephen Curry if they're not winning by that point? So it is imperative for this organization and this team to get off to a hot start, a rollicking start, to quiet the noise of Stephen Curry maybe looking elsewhere. And we knew this was a chance, being around LeBron James and Kevin Durant and all these Galaxy of Stars and with Team USA whispering in his ear, hey, look, we moved around before. It's not the worst thing in the world. Hey, this is concerning if the Warriors don't get up to a fight because the noise would just get louder and louder and louder.
Well, he's right. And we all see his point of view. And I don't think many people are going to have this opinion. So let me lay it out. He's also in part culpable as to why. I still think other players would have gone elsewhere. But when you're the one co-signing to stay with guys for years, we're talking about Clay and Dre. When you're staying with those guys and you've been like, hey, I got to stay with them guys, and we don't know how much he put his thumb on the scale with that kind of stuff, but I think he's involved in those things. You know, if you didn't bring back Draymond Green, you could have signed Paul George outright as a free agent. You could have. You would have had the empty slot. So I think he needs to also recognize, did kind of paint us into a corner in the sense that we were limited in the amount of moves that we could pull off. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he doesn't have
that's not on Curry. That's not on Curry, because how did he know and how did we know that Paul George would leave the Clippers? We had no inkling that he would leave the Clippers going into last season.
Bonte, I saw it last year when Joe Shasky, the guy who's not even paid to look at the salary cap and explain to my superstar of superstars what is coming down the pike. This is the 1-year plan, the 2-year plan, the 3-year plan when we lock ourselves into these contracts.
No doubt.
And so all I'm saying is that, like, you cannot say we got to play this with these guys, this and right here, and then turn around a year later and be like, I mean, you guys got to also accept just a slight bit of culpability for the situation that is here.
Well, come on. Steph Curry's played at an all-time level and an all-NBA level. He's done his job. And without Stephen Curry, you're not even in 10th place. All right? This guy played 70 games last year. The year before, they make the second round against the LA Lakers. You got to remember that these guys are all-time competitors that have won a lot of games together. And when you win a lot of big games together, we heard Shanahan say this with Tim Kawakami. I've been through a lot with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and these guys. Mm-hmm. So I love these guys. And I personally love these guys. And I want to see all these guys stay here or whatnot. But he talked about those relationships and what you go through together. And for some reason, we underestimate that with the big three, Clay, Dre, and then you got Stephen Curry, and then you got Steve Kerr and Andre Iguodala or whatnot. Again, they didn't lose a Western Conference Series until 2 seasons ago against the LA Lakers together as a trio and with that head coach. Now, you could bring in the playing game with the Memphis Grizzlies. Clay wasn't there. Clay was out that year. He was out. You lost to the Grizzlies. It is what it is, but you come back and win a championship. When you go through those wars together and win all those big playoff games and you still feel like as a competitor, you still got it. And that's the toughest thing with an athlete. When Willie talks about it all the time. Boy, when Father Time kicked my butt, he goes, I thought I had it, and then you don't. But you don't realize it because you're a super competitor and you've had this ego and confidence throughout your course of your career to where you don't think there's going to be a drop-off. That's what athletes think. That's how they move. That's how they operate. So I'm not mad at Stephen Curry for saying, yeah, we need a lot of changes when you hadn't even lost a Western Conference playoff. Now the reality's here. Clay's gone. Draymond's getting older. His inability to stay on the court due to some of his emotions on the court. That didn't hurt. That didn't help the team last season. Joe Lakers pointed that out. We've heard it from everybody now. And now you got the youngsters who are unproven. Yeah, Curry's at the point in his career where he can say these things, and it's totally okay. Because he's given everything to this organization.
No,
if we're going to question anybody, I'm not ever questioning Stephen Curry, what he's done for this organization. He can say what the hell he wants to say.
No one's saying he can't say anything, but there's also a little element of him like, hey, dude, like you did sign off on some of these things that put us in a position that's made it a little more difficult to be able to swing the big deal that you're looking for.
We just heard from Baldy where he says players back players in contract negotiations. What Trent, now you could go on through. Baldy played in the locker room. I'm not going to question the guy who's around these players. No, hold on.
Jordan Poole got a contract and Wiggins got a contract.
Hold on. Let me finish.
And it pissed off Draymond.
Can I finish what I was going to say? What Baldy just said? Baldy just said it. Players root for players and get their money. The players root for players and get their money. So we're talking about Steph Curry here, not Clay, not Draymond. We're talking about Steph here. For Steph Curry to co-sign and say, yeah, I want this guy to get paid, that's what players do.
Yes, but also, there is a salary cap, and it's very restrictive, and we kind of knew this.
How are you going to blame Steph Curry for Draymond getting his money?
You're getting hung up on it.
No, you're saying he's culpable.
Culpability. There's a slice for him.
Culpability for what?
He could be 99% the reason we've won everything, but there's also a little bit. You signed up for more Draymond, and he has self-sabotaged the season 2 years in a row.
He can't tell what the owner what to do. There's a GM and an owner. He could give his input.
You're right. He's done nothing wrong.
No, I didn't say that. I mean, honestly, you're blaming him for Draymond getting $100 million?
No, what I'm saying is that sometimes when you sign up for certain situations, for example, you marry somebody who's a little crazy, don't be shocked when they get a little crazy, okay? And when you've locked yourself in to a Draymond, I'm saying when you lock yourself in with Draymond, A, there's the Draymond availability thing. And then B, again, as we found out this offseason, because of the finances, it's really difficult to wheel and deal. And so, for example, this offseason, had they not had the Draymond contract under their cap, they would have had an open slot to be able to offer. That doesn't mean Paul George is coming.
Draymond literally drove down to Joe Laco's house and had dinner with him, and they got the deal done.
Well, you don't think that Steph had some influence on that?
What is Steph going to say about a teammate? About any teammate? We just heard Baldy talk about an NFL locker room saying the player wants to get paid. You know what? We got to back that because we are a fraternity.
I don't believe anything these guys are saying because they're all
you're not in the locker room, dude.
At every turn.
You're not in the locker room, man.
This team in particular
you're not in the locker room.
got so angry. Bonte, it's obvious they got so angry about who got paid. There was literally a punch
Steph Curry's name on that? Steph Curry's name wasn't on that.
No, but when
that's
you're
on
in a
Clay
team
and
atmosphere,
Draymond.
these things all
that's
matter.
on Clay
When you're the number one high-profile player. Bonte, he's the greatest player of all time.
And Steph ran to the podium to defend Jordan Poole right away, saying that's not how we do things. That's unacceptable.
Kevin Durant is even on record saying that he didn't like the way that this team has handled things.
1 second. So Baldy just came on these airways literally 30 minutes ago and said, who's around the players? If anybody's around the players, it's Baldy, right? You don't believe Baldy when he says the players are looking out for each other? Saying, no, we back players up to get their money and not pocket watch? I hear the same thing for Durant Wright. I hear the same thing for Festus Ezeli. I hear the same thing.
Okay.
Steph Curry did.
Klay Thompson admitted it.
Klay Thompson and Draymond. Where's Steph Curry name on that?
Okay. Again, Steph's the golden child. I understand that we can never pin even an ounce of any kind of culpability on him. He's the greatest warrior of all time. But he also signed up for where we're currently at. And yes, they can make moves. We can absolutely make moves. But the things that you had to have in place for the last couple of years are now kind of coming to roost. And no one is saying that he can't have that prerogative and that opinion. But he also kind of helped make the bed that they're laying in.
I don't know how much culpability Steph Curry has on that one.
Even if it's 1 ounce.
Yeah, I come on, man.
Well,
let's go to Eric in Sacramento. Eric in Sacramento. Were you going to say something?
Well, no, I just want to throw kind of an extra thought here. We're kind of making this out as, Steph wanted Draymond to be here, so that's why Draymond got his money. If Steph kind of said, I don't know if Draymond really fits in here going forward, does Draymond get that contract?
Probably. He went down to Joe Laco's house.
It's a great question.
He went down to Joe Laco's house and got the contract.
He's like, Joe, I really want this contract. And Lacob's like, well, I don't know if we see you as a part of this future. Maybe he mentioned Steph's name. Maybe he doesn't. Well, but if Steph said before to Lacob, hey, I don't know if Draymond really fits in on this team going forward.
Maybe he doesn't get the contract, but how's that on? Draymond Green is very valuable on this team. He's very valuable on this team.
Kind of moving things forward for this team, whether for someone getting paid or someone not getting paid.
So that's not. First of all, that's not in Steph's DNA to say, "Hey, just cut this guy, don't pay this guy." You know what I'm saying?
I'm throwing the hypothetical.
And Joe Lacob, yeah, it's a wild hypothetical because of what went down actually in reality. What went down in reality is Draymond went to Lacob's house and they talked about the contract and Draymond called Steph, and he called Clay for what he said. If you want to believe that, go ahead. Fine. I don't care. I don't care what you believe in. But Draymond said it. I went to Memphis. I called Steph, and I called Kerr, and I called Clay, saying I'm moving on. That's what happened. And then next thing you know, he's at Joe Lacob's house having dinner or wine, and he got $100 million. I don't know how involved Steph Curry was into that. I don't know. But how can we fault Steph Curry for saying, I want to play with Draymond Green? I've won 4 rings with him. Our two-man game is one of the best two-man games we've seen in the last 30 years. How can we fault Steph Curry for wanting to move off of that, for not wanting to move off of that, where he's got his trusted agent in Draymond Green, who's helped him win a lot of big games together?
But if you say that on one end, then how is it the organization's fault of not fielding a winner around you when you have preferential roster spots that you need filled with guys that you like? So all I'm saying is that, look, at the end of the day, the Warriors are the ones that are going to be held accountable for whether or not that Steph feels that this team is good enough with him. All I'm saying is he does have some, not all, just a little bit of influence regarding what this roster has been the last few years.
What if Steph Curry wanted some of these youngsters traded a couple years ago, and that didn't happen?
That I don't know.
Help before. What if that didn't happen and he lost faith in the organization?
That's entirely plausible.
But for Steph Curry to say, hey, look, I don't want to be on a bottom-feeding team.
Well, he clearly had as much influence, Bonte. He had so much influence, clearly, that Klay Thompson, from what the report said, he had to reach out to him and say, don't get involved.
And he still told the organization to get him paid.
Well,
so that's who Steph is.
But that's
who Steph is.
Okay,
and that's why you can't let players. That's why you can't let players run a franchise.
Which is exactly why I said there's an ounce of culpability.
Avery Bradley. Hey, we all wanted Avery Bradley. Bob I's like, chill, we got GP2. And then Steph gets up and says, you know what? You're right about that. So I'm not mad at Steph Curry. Steph Curry, I'm with him. You don't want to be on the bottom feeding team. And so he's put the organization on those, say, look, I'm in the twilight. I'm still playing at a high level. I want to play for big stakes here. I want to play for big stakes. What are we going to do here moving forward? Are we going to bottom out? Because I'm not good with bottoming out. And that's okay for the franchise player to say that. I don't find any shame into that, and I'm not going to put him culpable
in the last
for this
30
roster.
minutes have I said that there wasn't anything wrong with that.
He didn't draft James Wiseman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
He didn't punch Jordan Poole.
No.
He didn't move, like, you know what I'm saying? He didn't make all these moves. So I'm not going to put
no one
any
is saying that.
culpability
You're
on Steph Curry.
misconstruing. What I'm saying is that
I'm not misconstruing. I'm not misconstruing. You're saying that he's culpable for where the franchise is at right now, and he has a sliver of culpability because of the Draymond Green contract.
Yes, he does. No, but one of many roster spots on this team, right? Like, it's yes, they do. He does. When you're the greatest player in the franchise, you do have influence, right? So all I'm saying is that he can feel exactly the way he feels, and he's valid for feeling that way, and I get his point of view. But let's not also think that he doesn't have a little bit of input on where we're at right now. They've catered this whole thing to him. Steve Kerr's not here without him, right?
No doubt about it.
That's the way I view it.
But he's also the reason why we were in 10th place.
Of course, both are true.
You don't win a lot of games.
You
don't win a lot of games. So
it
does. It's just like, all right, he's culpable for what? Like, he's culpable for this building being built at Chase Center.
And so is them being able to secure financing.
For the franchise being as valuable as it is. So,
sure, but also, the team is as valuable as they are because they've won a ton. They've spent unbelievable amounts of money on the team. They own a big piece of real estate. Like, that's all goes into evaluation. Like, no, I don't think Cohen would have been able to build a team with just Steph Curry. You have to have the money to back it. You have to be able to find the investors, and you have to be able to swing deals in San Francisco to build anything. So, no, I do not think that anyone would just be able to build the team.
Let's go to Eric in Sacramento. Eric, what's happening?